hello.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for taking the time to join our interview. Today, I want to ask some questions about your experience in Japan. Where are you from?
My name's Amanda Trula,
Mhm.
and I'm from California. I'm from a small town right outside of Yosemite National Park. It's like in the mountains in rural California, but I went to university in Long Beach, just south of LA,
Oh.
so in Southern California. So I've been around.
So you graduated from university.
Yeah, just this December.
So could you share your itinerary in Japan?
It's a long one. So I'm spending about 50 days in Japan. I started out in Tokyo. I was there for about a week and a half, and I did a couple day trips, one of which was up north to Nikko. That was very pretty. There were some temples up in the forest. And then I started going south. I went to Mount Fuji and Kamakura. And then I think I went down toward Nagoya in Kyoto, Osaka. And now I'm heading south. And I think as far south I'm going to go is Hiroshima. And then I'm going to head back up north. And I think it's Takayama, Kanazawa, Shirakawa-go. I'm going to hit those towns and then go all the way up north to Hirosaki for the Cherry Blossom Festival. Hopefully it'll be on time. We'll see with the cherry blossoms. They bloomed a little late. But that's pretty much my full itinerary. And then I'm flying back out of Tokyo at the end of April.
Well, you have a long journey. Wow.
Yeah.
So it's the first time to came to Japan. Well, how did you brought to Japan?
Just from my childhood, I think watching Studio Ghibli is what first inspired me to come to Japan. I've always liked Miyazaki's movies, so that's how Japan flew on my radar. And then now I just like traveling, and I've always wanted to come to Asia. And I didn't really have a plan before coming here, but I love Japan, so I wanted to stay as long as I could. 50 days is about all I can do. But I'd like to work here, actually, or maybe in this region. I just got a job as an English teacher in Korea, so we're going to go to Korea next.
So currently you work as an English teacher.
I just got the job, actually. I had an interview while I was in Kyoto, and I passed. So I have to send in all my documents when I go back to the US, and then I can go to Korea.
So your plan is working in the Korea. Oh, okay. As you mentioned, you like Ghibli.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite movie?
Probably say Princess Mononoke, but I like all of them. My mom's favorite is Spirited Away, and then I've always liked Nausicaa.
A lot of Japanese people also like Ghibli movies. And I'm curious about your country. Ghibli movies are common in America.
They're pretty common. A lot of people do know of them. And if they aren't familiar with Studio Ghibli, they're still familiar with certain movies. Like Spirited Away is a pretty popular one. Usually people see photos from the movies, they'll recognize them. So they're a bit popular. Not everybody watches them. It depends if you're into animation or not, but they're a bit popular, I would say.
The Japanese culture made you to come to here.
Certainly. I've been very interested in how rich the history is here as well, the culture and history. But I'm not very familiar with it, so I came here to kind of be introduced to it. So I didn't know much before I came, but I do really like the culture. I like the food a lot too.
Oh, what is your favorite food, Japanese food?
I don't know if I can even say a favorite. I've liked all of the food that I've tried. I like ramen a lot.
Ramen.
A lot of the food I've eaten here, I don't even know the names of,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm being totally honest. But I've had a lot of good food here.
Mm.
I also like the convenience stores. They're really convenient.
Yes,
Like Lawson's, Family Mart, 7-Eleven. I like them.
I agree with you.
Those are also good.
So in US, have you tried Japanese food?
Yeah, the US, we have a huge mix of different cultures and foods. Even if I didn't even know certain foods are from a certain culture, we have all kinds of restaurants. So we have a lot of Chinese restaurants. We have a lot of sushi places. So I've had a bit of Japanese food, even if I didn't realize it was Japanese food growing up.
I hope you are also enjoying the food in Hiroshima.
I haven't had any food in Hiroshima yet. It's my first day here.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't really eaten anything yet.
So bringing back to the itinerary, why did you decide to come to Hiroshima?
Don't know exactly why I came to Hiroshima. I would say probably just for historical reasons. In U.S. history, we learn about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That's why I added it to my itinerary.
What's the first impression coming here?
Sure. I would probably say just the river reminded me of Kyoto. It's a bit more modern looking than other cities and towns I've been to. Other than Tokyo, I would say Tokyo's got a lot of modern infrastructure. But of course, I think that's just because of the bombing. Obviously, like there isn't as traditional of architecture. So that was probably my first impression.
So, did you go to the Peace Memorial Museum? Okay, so I want to hear about your feeling during exploration in the museum.
What's very morbid, but also very authentic. I really enjoyed the testimonials, especially. They had video testimonials toward the end of it that I got to sit down and watch. I enjoyed listening to people's stories. Very morbid, though, very sad.
Do you remember some exhibits in the museum?
I really enjoyed the photos at the very beginning of Hiroshima before the bombing. I thought it was really nice to have the opportunity to see the city before the bombing. The video testimonials were probably my favorite, just because I thought it was very immersive. So like videos of some of the people who experienced the bombing, they shared their experience. I mean, there was also obviously the most touching part of it, I think, was seeing the belongings. They had a bunch of belongings of victims from the bombing and stories their relatives shared. And I was, of course, like sniffling the whole time and like crying. I was trying to be really quiet, but you could hear some people throughout sniffling while they were reading everything. And that was probably the hardest part of it, is just reading testimonials of the family and there on the spot. But it was a very good memorial and a very good museum.
I think it's different between like reading books about Hiroshima history and coming here in person. So did you learn something new or surprising?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when we're going through U.S. history in like primary school or middle school, I forgot when it was or high school, when it was that we were introduced to all of this. For the history of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but we don't get to hear anything about the victims, really. I mean, you just hear about the bombing and the number of people who died, but it's very, I guess, superficial in a way. You don't really get to see what actually happens to the victims, and when you think of a bombing, you think it's a very quick death, but that's not the case for a lot of victims. It's torture in a way. It's really horrific, and that's just not something you learn about. Maybe it's because we're younger or something, so they're wanting to protect us from hearing about that. But I think it's an important part of history to understand what actually happens to victims in an atomic bombing.
Would you recommend this place to other tourists?
Absolutely. I think it really depends on what kind of tourism people are looking for. If you are interested in history, then you absolutely have to come to Hiroshima. And I think that there's a lot of other things that Hiroshima has to offer as well. Unfortunately, I don't know that much because I've only been here for a day, but obviously I'm going to go to Miyajima Island as well and check out some other areas soon, today, tomorrow, or the following days. I do recommend it though.
Oh, yeah, I hope you enjoy other part of Hiroshima, like nature and food and other stuff. So I want to ask a last question is, what do you think each of us can do?
I think just keeping ourselves as human as possible. I think one of the most horrific things about the way modern warfare is the lack of humanity. When it comes to war nowadays, it's like bombings. You're not really facing the people that you're affecting and massacring. I wish that I could say that there were ways that we could achieve peace. I think I have a very pessimistic view. I think the system that we have set up, and unfortunately the people that we have in power all over the world, I don't know if peace is achievable. I'm very pessimistic about it. But I think as far as individuals, I think all that you can do is really enjoy the little things. That's probably the best answer I have. Not very positive, unfortunately. But.
We can see different perspective from other countries' people. So, and I believe that sharing your experience to your family, your friends who live in your country, like sharing experience to next generation is most important to achieve the peace.
Awareness is very important.
Okay, thank you for sharing your opinion and sharing your experience. Enjoy your rest of your stay in Japan. Thank you so much.